Hello everyone, welcome to Faces of Falls Church. We're so glad you're joining us for this very special holiday preview of our new show. I'm Melissa Robison.
And I'm Amanda Levins. Today we're highlighting a couple of great holiday events in the city of Falls Church you may have missed and showcasing the city's most popular event that you haven't missed yet.
The city welcomed the holiday season in style with its annual tree lighting just after Thanksgiving weekend. The city's tree lighting event has really become something magical. The city brought back the event just 3 years ago after decades of not hosting one, and you can tell the residents here are definitely glad that they did. For the third year now, children and adults, business leaders and government officials, and even Santa himself gathered to see the trees along Broad Street light up the sky. It was also great to see actors from the local theater, Creative Cauldron, put on a special performance before the lighting. Families gathered to hear 12 little girls singing the opening number of Madeline's Christmas, showing at Creative Cauldron through the 23rd.
In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines lived 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. They left the house at 9:30 in 2 straight lines. In rain or shine, the smallest one was not alone.
After the girls' performance, Mayor David Tarter spoke to the crowds, welcoming them to the event and introducing the star of the evening, Santa. Several children joined him in igniting the lights. Attendees also got to check out a Falls Church City fire truck and kept warm by the fires in some beautiful fire pits provided by Sisler's Stone, one of the city's oldest companies. It was really a treat, and we look forward to seeing you at next year's event.
Another wonderful event that is fairly new to Falls Church is Tree Fest. Tree Fest celebrated its 4th year this season at the New Kensington Assisted Living Community. Tree Fest is an annual event that was created by Melissa Morse to help raise funds for the area's nonprofit organizations. Each organization decorates a small artificial Christmas tree in their own style that is then auctioned off over a weekend. The families get to bid on a tree, knowing that the money they pay will all go directly to support the nonprofit who put the tree together. For-profit companies also participate by decorating a tree on behalf of a nonprofit. I actually caught up with Melissa in between all of her duties for the event and got a glimpse into why she decided to start this unique fundraiser. So I'm actually going to let her tell you all about it.
You know, I started this 4 years ago, but it isn't the first time I did it. Many, many years ago, before I moved to Falls Church, I was the sales and marketing director for an organization that needed to put forth a fundraising effort for the local museum. And this was an idea that I used then. I contacted area businesses, each of them did a tree. People bid on the trees, and then all of the money went to support the museum. And so when I came here, it just seemed to be a natural event for Falls Church as well, except that in this instance, each of the trees benefits a particular nonprofit. The first year that I did it, I received a lot of support from the Falls Church News Press in promoting it and making people aware of it. First-time events sometimes are a little tricky in terms of getting people to turn out. 6 months after I did the first event, I ran into a woman on Main Street, and she said she had come to Falls Church Tree Fest the first year, and her family was in a bad situation at that time, but because she had come to Tree Fest, she became aware of one of our organizations, which is Safe Haven of the First Christian Church. And she realized that they provide the services that her family needed. And I said, I appreciate you telling me that, because that motivates me to continue this on an annual basis. Each year I have been very blessed with organizations that have stepped up and provided a venue for the event to take place. The first year was the Hilton Garden Inn. The second year I was at the Community Center. Went back to the Hilton Garden Inn last year, and this year the Kensington Falls Church has made their location available for the venue, as well as a lot of support and participation from Falls Church Arts. So it just kind of evolves from year to year. Every place that we have been, I've had them say, the door is open, come talk to us. So apparently wherever the event has been held, it has worked well for that venue. The Kensington Falls Church sponsored the sneak peek for Falls Church Tree Fest this year, in that they issued invitations to their professional network. We also invited the chambers of commerce in this area, the Falls Church Chamber, the Arlington Chamber, the McLean Chamber, for their members to attend. The Kensington Falls Church provided the food and beverage as the sponsor for the event, and the Falls Church Arts as an additional sponsor has been wonderful in terms of helping with the layout, and they also have several of the trees in their location. Falls Church Arts has a first-time exhibit this year, the handmade exhibit that they have on display until next week, and they have a tree at the event as well. The George Mason High School Performing Arts Group has been with Falls Church Tree Fest every single year. Mary Jo West is phenomenal. She is here every year with the jazz band group, with a brass group. They opened the show this year with a flute quartet, and then in addition to the band being here this year, the high school choir also performed this year. So we always have incorporated the student musicians in the event, and people like that. When the event occurred the other night, I kept hearing repeatedly from the audience, "This is a high school group? These kids are high school?" They just couldn't believe the quality of the performance. It went very, very well.
I really must go.
It's cold outside.
So thanks for the show.
Maybe it's cold outside.
The welcome has been so nice and warm.
The George Mason High School group has performed at the event every year. This is the first time they've had a tree. Kensington Falls Church sponsored their tree this year. They provided a tree, decorated it, and I'm pleased to see that they have a tree here this year. You know, the goal, at least for me, because Falls Church Tree Fest is about the nonprofits who participate, so the goal for me is always to increase the bids as much as possible and generate as much revenue as possible for each of the groups. This year I added a donation box so that in addition to people being able to bid on a tree, if they don't see a tree in their household, if they don't see being able to make that type of donation, there's a donation box. So if they want to give that particular organization, you know, some cash or a small check or whatever, they have that option as well. We have experienced over the last 4 years that the final bids range anywhere from $125 a tree to as much as $500 a tree. And I can tell you right now, there are a couple of trees that are here this year that are going to hit that high number again.
The information on this year's Tree Fest is still on the website, fallschurchtreefest.com. There you can learn more about the nonprofits that participated and check out the final winning bids. I think it's really heartwarming to kick off the season of giving with such a charitable event.
And as promised, we're not just here to tell you about what has already happened, but also to tell you about the city's biggest annual holiday event that is still to come, Watch Night. Watch Night is New Year's Eve celebration that is a community tradition for many folks here in Falls Church. Last year, we grabbed some great footage of all the family fun and caught up with the event's organizer, Barb Cram.
Watch Night is a wonderful family alternative for New Year's Eve, with much of the focus on the fun alley filled with bouncy houses, a pirate ship, karaoke, rides, and more. We were lucky enough to get Barb Cram to sit down with us, take some time out of her very busy schedule to tell us about how she got started and roped into being the coordinator of this huge event for Falls Church.
In 1995, I was asked to be part of the Tricentennial Committee by Mayor Brian O'Connor, and I was representing the chamber. I was on the chamber board then. So I said yes, I thought it'd be fun, and I love history, so I got on the board, and we planned for several years doing different things, so I was the marketing chairman. And what I did was help when we decided that we wanted to have a big event, that we thought doing Tricentennial Eve, which would have been the day before Tricentennial started, so that would be December 31st, 1998. in 1999, January 1 was the first day of Tricentennial. Because of the really wonderful acceptance of that event, people thought, people like this, closing the streets, coming downtown, and people wanted something to do on New Year's Eve that didn't involve drinking. So, they thought, well, why don't we do this again?
Dave Eckert retired from coordinating Watch Night in 2006, and he asked Barb Cram if she'd take over his duties, and I think the city is definitely glad that she said yes. I know we certainly had a great time.
Happy New Year from the big city of Falls Church and our big time New Year's Eve celebration. We love Watch Night.
Great night. Falls Church has invited all the families out here tonight. It's fantastic.
We did split up for a bit last year, and I headed over to the Presbyterian Church down the street where kids enjoyed a fun puppet show, balloon animals, and having their caricatures drawn. I also caught up with some of VPAS's coordinators to tell me more about the festivities there.
I'm Keith Thurston with the Village Preservation Society. I've been working on Watch Nights since 1998 off and on at different venues. It's a lot of fun setting up, and it brings a lot of folks out, especially working with the Presbyterian Church and the venue that we're running here. It has a lot going on.
Chuck Hobby, resident of Falls Church since 1974 and a member of VPAS during that time, a lifetime member. I guess I've been doing Watch Night in Falls Church for about 12 years or so. It's wonderful at the church tonight. We will have a wonderful band, and I think people just always have a wonderful time. Last year we had, I think, over 300 people come out. It's a great time.
I'm Mike Volpe. I'm an elder here at the Presbyterian Church, and I've been involved with Watch Night here at the church since around 1998. We started with concerts in our sanctuary, and then shortly after we built this structure right here in 2004, Dave Eckert, who was running the Watch Night program, suggested we have dancing, and we've been dancing ever since.
Swing band, it's like 20 members of the band playing, and it is packed. It is a lot of fun. We're lucky to have them.
Yep. They're wonderful.
That's right.
And at the Falls Church, attendees enjoyed some intimate musical performances. When it got chilly, we ducked into the local restaurants. We love the food available in our little city, and on Watch Night, the restaurants did not disappoint. We hit both Dogwood Tavern and Ireland's Four Provinces right there in the center of all the festivities.
We're featuring our house-made hot mulled cider that we do every winter here at Dogwood Tavern. It's going to be an infusion of mulling spices over unfiltered cider with brown sugar and expressed orange zest. Then we offer it non-alcoholic or filled with cinnamon whiskey or spiced rum. Perfect to warm you up on a cold night.
Hi, I'm Colin Dillon. I own Ireland's Four Provinces in Falls Church here. We do our little bit here. We give out about 250 hot chocolates and about 250 potato leek soup. And the lines have been there since we started at 8 o'clock. As a matter of fact, we just ran out of potato leek soup. We don't have any more. We do our bit. Everyone else does their bit. I mean, it's a great community effort on an event that really works. This works. It works well, and everyone has a great time.
Downtown, in the heart of the event, some great bands entertained on the main stage all evening long.
Among the bands that performed last year was a fun group of high school students called the Star Stragglers, plus local singer-songwriter Haley Fahey. And of course, we closed the evening with Falls Church favorite Sudden Impact.
Andre Jackson, who has worked in the community center since I've been living in Falls Church, has been in that band, and he's a professional that traveled with Glenn Leonard's Temptations tour, and they just got back from Europe, and they do, I don't know, like a stop a day, and they're doing a show a day, and he really had a ton of good new material this year, and that was really, really fun. He gets the people moving, and so if it's cold outside, we have a lot of warm people. We have volunteers from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who come into the Unity Club on the second level, and they blow up thousands of balloons. So at about 11:15, I personally, with a couple people who also know how long it takes to do these balloons, go around and hand balloons to people and say, the tradition is we wave these at midnight, because it gives people something to do, and it keeps people all active and when the music's playing, and it's a great photo op.
As we neared the new year, it was time for the countdown. Instead of a ball drop, the City of Falls Church dropped something truly unique, a giant star with quite the history that Barb Cram shared with us.
The star we call the Historic Star was contracted with Dixie Sheet Metal by Don Frady, who was head of Public Works in 1948. For a lot of people that have lived here a long time, there's an older veteran, his name was Len Mikulowski, and he was always very vocal. If there was something he didn't think the city was doing right, he was always at the Planning Commission meetings or the City Council meetings. He kept saying, where's that star? And he kept kind of bugging Robert Goff, who's always been in Public Works. And he said, Len, I don't know, but I know it's around here somewhere. So when they started to kind of reorganize things, they found the star. And Robert saw me at the 7-Eleven on West Street, and he said, hey Barb, Len's always complaining about that star, and he's always bugging me about where that star is. He said, I found it. He said, don't tell him. He said, we got to figure out something to do with this star. So I called around and I said, we could lower that. So Atlantic Realty, when I asked them, can we do this? They said, sure, I think we can do that. So ever since 2007, they've been sponsoring getting the crane down here from Virginia Crane, and the driver and the operator. It really drew people out in 2007 who wanted to see it again.
Watch Night really does have something for everyone, so we hope we'll see you there this year.
Oh, what a night. This is a great night. Watch Night. Come to Falls Church on New Year's Eve. It's awesome. Having a great time.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Thanks for joining us for this special holiday preview episode of Faces of Falls Church. Join us again in January, where we actually kick off the show for real with First Friday of Falls Church at Art and Frame.